How's it going, everyone? Chart from Drunk Guy Explains, and we're here to do another Craps Masters class, hot versus cold table. Now, the biggest thing to consider when you're thinking about a hot versus cold table. Now, generally speaking, the average is basically for every 6 rolls, a 1 to 6, 1 to 6 chance that a 7 is going to roll. Okay, so let's just go ahead and define what is a hot table versus a cold table. I think that a cold table is a table that rolls more 7s than the average that should be. So there's a 1 in 6 chance that you will roll a 7 every time you roll. So if you're rolling a 7 every 3 rolls, obviously it's a cold table. Also, the exact opposite is going to be for a hot table. If you roll 10 rolls in between 7s, then that's considered a hot table. Now, how do you adjust your strategy when talking about cold versus hot tables? Realistically, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about it, but in my opinion, a lot of times there is opportunities inside a craps table where you see a swell in consistent shooters, dice setters, or just a hot table that almost everything is hitting. You can barely see a 7. When you do see a 7, it's when the point is off, and people are just making money, and it slows down gameplay. If you notice this, that dealers will start paying things out, and the entire gameplay will slow down because everyone is making bets. Conservatively, on the same side of it, when you do a cold table, you start to notice that it's fast playing, people are sitting here moving around a lot of shooters are going in and out, a lot of players are going in and out of the table. Why is that? Because it's a cold table. People are losing money and basically saying, I don't want to mess with that. Or you hit a 0.7. Then you sit here and have maybe a 12 or a deuce and then another 0.7. And when having those kind of tables, you gotta sit here and adjust your strategy a little bit. So things to consider when a table is getting hot is maybe let your bets lay out there a little bit longer. Maybe press if you want to. A lot of it has to do with how you're feeling about it, how you're comfortable playing with that kind of bankroll, or how you're comfortable making those kind of bets for a long-term shooter. And the exact opposite goes down to a cold table. Now, realistically, if you're on a cold table, you could do a strategy where you're working the don'ts versus the do, lays versus places, or the DCBT, the don't come bar 12, and do something around that area to where you can accommodate a cold table. Now, a lot of times, in my personal opinion, when you see a cold table, I say that if you see a cold table for 30 minutes, you should essentially play the cold side for an additional 30 minutes. Why? Because just like everything starts to go up, when the time it is about to start gambling and say, I want to capitalize on that hot shooter, it'll probably start dipping back down. So in my personal opinion, when a cold table is cold for about 20 or 30 minutes, I might start playing the don'ts. Why? Because I don't see a cold table lasting more than about 30 minutes. Same thing for a hot table. If I'm sitting here and everything's going gangbusters for 30 minutes, I start to dial it down, becoming a little bit more conservative because I know that those statistics are going to mellow back out to make that 1 in 6 chance of a 7. No matter how much you play craps or how much you want to sit here and dice set, at the end of the day, over the course of 1,000,000 dice rolls, that pyramid of probability will always remain the same. 7 being the most common, 6 and 8 being the second most common, and so on and so forth down to the 2 and 12. Well, guys, this is Chart from Drunk Guy Explains. Hope you enjoyed this master class. Check you next time.